I wanted to ask you what we as individuals can do to help influence this. I feel kind of powerless to do much.
Voices matter and organizations matter. So even if it's as simple as writing a letter to the editor, make sure your own voice is heard. This is a room that has a lot of clout. And I do think that if you both use the organizations that you're a member of and your own voice, it more and more will begin to make a difference. We've just been through the 50th anniversary of Bobby Kennedy's speech in South Africa. Send a ripple, because together the ripples can pile up and tear down the largest walls of indifference. We actually know what the walls are. It's actually the fossil fuel industry leadership and the Chamber of Commerce leadership. So, and the Wall Street Journal editorial page, I mean, to pick a few of their redoubts, Paul Gigot ought to be shamed into accountability for the truly horrific, dishonest position that his page takes every day on climate change. Tom Donahue at the Chamber of Commerce ought to be shamed. Tillerson at ExxonMobil ought to be shamed, and Charles Koch ought to be shamed. And in fact, we're close enough that Tillerson and Koch are both saying, oh, wait a minute, climate change is real. Humans do have a cause in it, and Tillerson and Exxon are even saying, and we support a carbon fee. Now they don't, that's not true, but they say it. Down on the gun decks, their political armamentarium is all still pointed at anybody who might dare cross them on the Republican side and saying, move and I'll shoot. But the fact that they feel that they have to say this to get through cocktail parties and to be able to invited to Davos and whatever it is, you know, it's a difference when they have to give lip service, even if it's phony baloney lip service. So I will take their lip service as a victory, and I would ask all of you to crank up the pressure. It is simply not acceptable any longer not to be serious about climate change. The science is crystal clear. It just isn't subject to debate. Like anything, you can find some strange point at the margin way over here where you can debate it. Really? You're going to debate the acidification of the oceans? No. You're going to debate the fundamental proposition of greenhouse gases? No. That was discovered when Abraham Lincoln was riding around Washington in his top hat, for crying out loud. So don't let them get away with it. And you're in circles where a lot of these people exist, and they should feel the pressure. It is not acceptable, and we're all going to pay the price from their truculence and their folly if they don't come around. It's not like it's free to us to have ExxonMobil be climate deniers. It isn't. Not as Americans. We look like hell because of what they're doing. And it hurts every single damned one of us. It hurts every ambassador in every post in every country. It hurts our soldiers when they have a different reputation, a different view of the world, when they put their boots on the ground in the country. It hurts, and it is simply not right for these very well-paid, very privileged, very protected people to continue to behave this way. It's reprehensible, and they should know it.
Could DOD be an ally in the years ahead? The Navy seems alert.
The Navy's very good. Mabus has been terrific. The Navy is doing amazing investments in jet fuel from algae and things like that. They've brought the price down, I think, from about $300 per gallon to $3 and change a gallon in the last contract. The problem has been that the uniformed military has been reluctant to put its voice into, or its image into this fight. So you get the civilians, you get the quadrennial defense reviews, you get the intelligence estimates, you get the statements from our head of the think pack back when Admiral Locklear, that this was the threat in the Pacific more than any other, likely to disrupt things in a way that would disturb American interests. But it's hard to put a panel of people in uniform in front of the Environmental and Public Works Committee and say, you know, I'm a general, I'm an admiral, I'm the head of the Marine Corps, we're telling you. What the Navy has done that's been really interesting, Ray Mabus said he's starting to actually evaluate his, you know, the military lives by evaluation. they're starting to evaluate their base commanders on how well they communicate the risk of climate change about the base. So if you're the base commander of Norfolk or of Naval Station Newport or of, what is it, Cherry Creek Marine Air Station in North Carolina, you are suddenly have on your checklist of what you're evaluated on how well you've communicated what the risk of climate change is. And for those bases, for Navy bases particularly, it's a really real risk. They're on the sea. Sea level rise is going to swamp what they do. It's really practical. So when people hear it from as trusted a source as a uniformed military officer, it will make a big difference. And they have not been very forward about it from the uniform side of the military. DOD has been good, MABUS has been the best.
And there's a strategic argument also, which is that long-term desertification in Africa is sending millions of climate refugees into North Africa and into the Middle East, where they can easily become recruited into wars.
Yeah.
So,
and we lose our major communications base in the Indian Ocean if it floods, which it looks like it's going to do. And there are really practical strategic consequences from this, and the military is saying it, and so are people like Tom Friedman, who's a pretty smart guy and pretty well respected. Read his stuff about what's happening in Syria and why.